The interstellar cadet training facility hung in the silent dark above the swirling violet storms of Virellis, a gas giant so massive it bent starlight around its edges. Inside the facility's central hall, rows of young cadets from a dozen species stood at attention, their uniforms crisp, their postures stiff with anticipation. Among them was Relic, a Cathari cadet with smooth silver-blue skin and eyes that glowed faintly in low light. He stood taller than most, his pride as sharp as the ceremonial blade strapped to his thigh. To him, this was more than training. It was proof that his people belonged among the galaxy's elite. Across the hall, leaning slightly against a support column with arms crossed, was a human cadet named Liam. He wore the same standard-issue gray uniform as everyone else, but his looked worn at the elbows, his boots scuffed from too many drills. His dark hair was messy, his expression calm but distant as if he were already somewhere else. Rumor had it he'd failed half his combat simulations, vanished during stealth exercises, and once spent 3 days alone in the zero-gravity obstacle course just to think. Most cadets avoided him. He was quiet, unremarkable, and, according to the official rankings posted that morning, dead last in his class. Today was partner selection day, the start of the joint survival exercise, a grueling 72-hour mission that tested teamwork, strategy, and resilience. Cadets would be paired across species and dropped onto Xylos 7, a harsh jungle moon teeming with venomous flora, predatory fauna, and unstable terrain. Their goal? Locate and retrieve a downed comms beacon hidden deep in Sector Gamma and return alive. The pairing was random, or so the instructors claimed. But Relic had heard whispers. There was a loophole. If a cadet publicly challenged the random draw and named a specific partner before the assignment was finalized, the request would be honored, once per cycle. It was meant to encourage boldness. Relic saw it as an opportunity. As the lead instructor, a grizzled reptilian veteran named Vorak, began calling names, Relic stepped forward. The hall fell silent. "I challenge the draw," Relic announced, his voice clear and steady. "I choose my partner." Vorak's slit-like eyes narrowed. "State your choice." Relic turned and pointed directly at Liam. Him, the human. A ripple of murmurs spread through the hall. Some cadets chuckled, others shook their heads. Choosing the lowest-ranked human wasn't bold, it was foolish. But Relic didn't care. He wanted an easy win. He wanted to prove that even with dead weight, a Cathari could dominate. And dragging a weak human to victory would make his triumph even sweeter. Liam didn't react at first. He simply uncrossed his arms, straightened up, and met Relic's gaze. There was no anger in his eyes, no fear, just a quiet stillness that made Relic uneasy for a moment. Then Liam gave a small nod and walked forward to stand beside him. "Partners confirmed," Vorak growled. "Prepare for drop in 2 hours." The shuttle ride to Xylos 7 was tense. Relic reviewed maps and survival protocols on his datapad, occasionally glancing at Liam, who sat with his eyes closed, hands resting on his knees. He hadn't spoken since boarding. "You know," Relic finally said, unable to stand the silence, "if you'd trained harder, you wouldn't be stuck with me." Liam opened his eyes. "Maybe," he said simply. "Maybe?" Relic scoffed. "You're ranked last. You've never completed a full drill without disappearing." "I don't disappear," Liam said. "I reposition." Relic rolled his eyes. "Whatever. Just stay out of my way down there. I'll handle the hard parts." Liam didn't respond. He just looked out the viewport at the approaching moon. A tangled green sphere veiled in mist and lightning, the drop pod launched with a violent jolt. Turbulence rattled the hull as they plunged through Xylos 7's thick acidic atmosphere. Alarms blared. Warning lights flashed red. "We're off course." Relic shouted over the noise, gripping his harness. Liam remained calm. "Brace." The pod slammed into the canopy, shearing through branches before crashing into the soft, moss-covered ground with a deafening crunch. Smoke curled from the engine. The hatch hissed open, revealing a world of towering black trees, glowing fungi, and air thick with the scent of rotting fruit and ozone. Relic climbed out first, scanning the area with his wrist-mounted scanner. "Sector Gamma should be 3 clicks northeast. We'll move fast." Liam emerged slowly, testing his footing. He knelt, touched the soil, then sniffed the air. "We're not in Gamma." "What?" Relic checked his scanner again. The signal was scrambled. "Impossible." The nav system, it's not working, Liam said, standing. Look at the trees. The bark patterns, they match old survey logs from Quarantine Zone Theta. Relic froze. Zone Theta was forbidden, marked off limits in every briefing, rumored to be the site of a failed terraforming experiment that left the land poisoned and haunted by rogue AI constructs. That's ridiculous, Relic snapped. We must have drifted a few clicks. Nothing more. Liam pointed to a crumbling stone arch half buried in vines nearby. Carved into it were symbols, none from any known conquered species. That's not conquered architecture, and it's not natural, Relic hesitated. Part of him wanted to listen, but pride flared hot in his chest. He couldn't let a human, especially this one, dictate their path. We stick to the mission, Relic said firmly. The beacon is in Gamma. We head northeast now. Liam studied him for a long moment, then nodded. All right, but if I say run, you run. No questions, Relic laughed. I'll be the one giving orders, human. They moved through the jungle, the air growing heavier with each step. Strange insects buzzed in harmonies that made Relic's teeth ache. Twice Liam stopped them just before they stepped on patches of ground that looked solid but gave way like quicksand. Each time, Relic brushed it off as luck. Then they found the ruins, half swallowed by the jungle. The structures rose like broken teeth, smooth black stone fused with twisted metal, covered in vines that pulsed faintly with bioluminescent light. The comms beacon's signal spiked nearby. There, Relic said, pointing to a collapsed dome at the center. It's inside. Liam grabbed his arm. Don't, Relic yanked free. Enough caution. We're losing time. He strode forward, stepping onto a circular platform at the ruin's entrance. Instantly the ground trembled. Panels slid open in the walls. Dozens of small spider-like drones unfolded from hidden compartments, their red lenses locking onto the intruders. Run, Liam shouted, but it was too late. The drones launched into the air, emitting a high-pitched whine that made Relic's head throb. One darted past his ear, leaving a thin trail of smoke. He fired his sidearm, but the shots sparked harmlessly off their armored shells. Liam moved like water, dodging, weaving, using fallen pillars for cover. He pulled a small device from his belt and threw it. It exploded in a flash of blue light, temporarily blinding the drones. This way, he yelled, dragging Relic into a narrow tunnel. They ran until their lungs burned. Behind them, the drones screeched, unable to follow the tight passage. Relic collapsed against the wall, gasping. That's when he felt it, a sharp sting on his neck. He reached up and pulled out a tiny, needle-like dart. Liam's face went pale. Neural toxin, fast-acting. Before Relic could respond, his vision blurred. The wall seemed to breathe. Shadows twisted into shapes. Faces he didn't recognize, voices whispering in languages he'd never heard. He stumbled and Liam caught him before he hit the ground. Stay with me, Liam said, already pulling bandages and vials from his pack. This isn't just a survival test, Relic. This place, it remembers. Outside, the jungle fell silent. Even the insects stopped buzzing. Something ancient had awakened. And it knew they were there. The tunnel was cold and damp, the air thick with the smell of wet stone and something sharp like burnt metal. Relic lay on his side, shivering, his skin slick with sweat. His thoughts twisted like vines, real and unreal tangled together. He saw his homeworld's twin suns burning in a sky that wasn't there. He heard his instructor's voice calling his name, but the words made no sense. His hands trembled as he tried to push himself up, but his muscles wouldn't obey. Liam knelt beside him, tearing open a med kit with practiced speed. He pressed a damp cloth to Relic's forehead, then injected a clear fluid into his arm from a small vial. This will slow the fever, he said, his voice low but steady. But it won't stop it. Not completely. Relic tried to speak, but his tongue felt heavy. What was that? Defense system, Liam replied, glancing toward the tunnel entrance. The red eyes of the drones still glowed in the darkness beyond, but they hadn't followed. Old automated, triggered by weight or movement on that platform. You stepped right on the pressure plate, Relic groaned. Shame burned through the haze of poison. He had ignored Liam's warning. He had rushed in like a fool, and now they were trapped. Liam helped him sit up, propping him against the wall. From his belt pouch, he pulled out a handful of crushed green leaves and mixed them with water from his canteen. He smeared the paste over the puncture wound on Relic's neck. It stung, but the burning sensation brought a strange clarity. Where did you learn that? Relic asked, his voice weak but clearer. Liam didn't look at him. Places, people, You pick things up when you're not supposed to survive. Relic studied him. In the dim light, Liam's face looked older than his years. Lines around his eyes, a scar along his jaw he hadn't noticed before. This wasn't just a failed cadet. There was something beneath the quiet surface, something worn down by more than drills. After a while, the shaking stopped. Relic could think straight again, though his head still ached. "We can't stay here," he said. "We won't," Liam replied. "But we move smart. Not fast." He led them deeper into the ruin, using a small handheld light that cast long shadows on the walls. The stone corridor sloped downward, the air growing colder. Strange symbols covered the walls, spirals within circles, lines that looked like broken code. Liam traced one with his fingers, then quickly pulled his hand back as if burned. "What is this place?" Relic asked. "A tomb," Liam said. "Or a prison. Maybe both." They found a chamber with a collapsed ceiling, moonlight streaming through the hole. In the center stood a pedestal, and on it the comms beacon. It blinked slowly, its signal weak but intact. Relic moved toward it, but Liam grabbed his arm. "Wait," he pointed to the floor. Thin wires, nearly invisible, ran across the tiles in a grid. Pressure triggers. Step wrong and the whole room seals or explodes. Relic stared. He hadn't seen a single wire. "How do you know?" Liam didn't answer. Instead, he took a small pouch from his pocket and tossed a pinch of fine powder into the air. It settled on the wires, making them glow faintly blue. Then, with slow, careful steps, he crossed the room, stepping only on the safe tiles. He reached the beacon, detached it from the pedestal, and turned back. As he returned, the ground rumbled. Dust fell from the ceiling. Somewhere deep below, metal groaned. "They know we took it," Liam said. They ran. The tunnel behind them collapsed as they reached the exit, sealing the chamber behind a wall of falling rock. Outside, the jungle was darker now, the twin moons of Xylo 7 casting long, shifting shadows. But the silence was worse. No wind, no insects. Just the sound of their own breathing. Liam checked the beacon. Signal's weak, but it's broadcasting. Extraction point's 10 clicks west. Relic nodded, but his legs felt like lead. The fever was coming back. His vision swam. He stumbled, and Liam caught him again. "You're getting worse," Liam said. "I'll manage," Relic muttered. Liam looked at him for a long moment. Then he unslung his pack and pulled out a canteen. "Drink this." The liquid inside was bitter, earthy. Relic gagged but forced it down. Within minutes, the trembling eased. "What is that?" "Root extract. Grows only in high toxin zones. Slows neural decay." Liam capped the canteen. "It won't cure you, but it'll buy time." They walked through the night, Liam leading with quiet confidence, Relic leaning on him more than he wanted to admit. Every so often, Liam would stop, listen, and change direction without explanation. Once he pulled Relic behind a moss-covered boulder just as a swarm of winged creatures, leathery and eyeless, swept overhead, clicking in unison. "How do you know all this?" Relic finally asked, his voice hoarse. Liam paused. "I've been here before." Relic stared. "That's impossible. Cadets aren't allowed near Zone Theta." "I wasn't a cadet then," Liam said quietly. Before Relic could ask more, Liam stiffened. He raised a hand, signaling silence. Ahead, through the trees, a soft blue light pulsed from the ruins of a smaller structure, part temple, part machine. Wires snaked from its base into the earth, twitching like living things. "The pathogen vault," Liam whispered. "What pathogen?" Liam didn't answer. He pulled Relic behind a thick trunk. "Don't move." From the vault's entrance, a figure emerged. Tall, humanoid, but wrong. Its limbs too long, its skin shimmering like oil on water. It turned its head slowly, scanning the jungle. Then it spoke. Not with a voice, but with a sound that vibrated in Relic's bones. Liam's hand went to his sidearm, but he didn't draw it. "It's not hunting us," he said. "It's waiting." Relic's fever spiked again. He saw flashes, human soldiers in black armor screaming as their skin split open. A city burning under twin suns that weren't Virelli's. A voice, his own, saying, "We should have left it buried." He gasped, clutching his head. "What's happening to me?" "The toxin isn't just poison," Liam said, eyes still on the figure. "It unlocks memories. Not yours, ours. Ours? The ones who were here first. The ones who built this place. They didn't die. They changed, and the Conquered covered it up." Relic felt cold. "You're saying I'm seeing their memories?" Liam nodded. And if the fever gets worse, you'll start speaking their language, thinking like them, maybe even calling them. The figure by the vault tilted its head as if it had heard. It took a step forward. "Time to go," Liam said. They moved fast and silent, circling wide around the vault. But as they crossed a shallow stream, Relic's leg gave out. He fell into the water, coughing. Liam hauled him up, but it was too late. The figure was gone, and then it was behind them. Relic turned. The thing stood 10 meters away, its form shifting, melting, and reforming like liquid shadow. It raised a hand not to attack but to point. Toward Liam. It knew him. Liam's breath hitched. "Run!" They sprinted through the jungle, branches whipping at their faces. Behind them, the ground cracked open and more figures rose. 3, then 5, their bodies woven from vines, metal, and something that looked like human bone. Relic's vision blurred again. He saw Liam, not as he was now, but in a torn uniform, standing over a burning crater, blood on his hands, whispering, "I'm sorry." He stumbled, and Liam caught him. "Stay with me," Liam said, his voice urgent. "Don't let it take you." They reached a narrow cave hidden behind a waterfall. Liam shoved Relic inside, then sealed the entrance with a fallen log and thick vines. Inside, the air was cool and still. Relic collapsed against the wall, his body shaking. "Why did it point at you?" Liam sat across from him, his face shadowed. "Because I'm not clean." "What does that mean?" Liam unbuttoned the top of his uniform. On his chest, just below his collarbone, was a mark, a spiral identical to the ones on the walls. It glowed faintly, pulsing in time with his heartbeat. "I was part of a squad sent here 5 years ago," he said. "We were told it was a rescue mission. It wasn't. We were test subjects. They exposed us to something that rewrote us. Most of my team didn't make it back. The ones who did changed. I hid it, faked records, joined the academy to stay off the grid." Relic stared at him, horror and understanding crashing together. "You're infected." "I'm adapted," Liam corrected. "But the facility above us? It's not just a training center. It's built over the main vault, and someone's been tampering with the seals." Outside, the jungle erupted in sound, screeches, roars, the crack of splitting trees. The things were searching. Liam met Relic's eyes. "They don't want the beacon. They want me. And now, because of the toxin, they want you too." Relic's fever burned hotter. He could feel something stirring in his mind. Not fear, but recognition. As if part of him already knew this place, already belonged. He looked at Liam, really looked at him, not as a weak human, but as a survivor. A warning. And for the first time, Relic wondered if he hadn't just picked the wrong partner. But the only one who could save him. The cave behind the waterfall was small and damp, the sound of falling water muffling the chaos outside. Relic sat with his back against the cold stone wall, his breath coming in short gasps. The fever had settled into a deep, throbbing heat behind his eyes. Every time he closed them, images flashed, towers of black glass rising from red soil, voices chanting in a language that felt older than stars, and a single command echoing through his skull. "Return the key." He opened his eyes and looked at Liam, who was sharpening a piece of metal against a rock, his movements calm but quick. The glowing spiral on his chest pulsed faintly with each heartbeat. "What key?" Relic asked, his voice rough. Liam didn't look up. "The beacon isn't just a comms device. It's a lock. And we just took it from its socket." Relic's stomach twisted. "So we didn't complete a mission. We broke a seal." "Worse," Liam said. "We woke something up." Outside, the screeching had stopped. The jungle was silent again, that heavy, waiting silence that meant danger was close. Liam stood and pressed his ear to the cave wall. "They're not searching anymore. They're waiting for us to come out." Relic tried to stand, but his legs wobbled. "We can't stay here." "We won't," Liam said. "But we need a plan. The extraction shuttle won't come unless the beacon sends a clean signal. Right now it's broadcasting corrupted data, probably because it's linked to the vault's core. Can you fix it?" Liam shook his head. "Not here. Not without tools. But there's a relay station on the ridge, old Concord tech, still powered. If we can reach it, I can reprogram the beacon long enough to call the shuttle." Relic nodded slowly. "Then that's what we do." Liam studied him. "You're still burning up. That toxin is rewriting your neural pathways. If you push too hard, you might not come back." "I'm already not me," Relic said quietly. Every time I blink, I see things I've never seen, hear voices I've never heard. If I don't move, I'll lose myself in here. Liam held his gaze for a long moment, then nodded. All right, but you follow my lead. No pride, no questions. Just move. They left the cave as the first light of Xylo 7's dawn painted the sky in streaks of orange and violet. The jungle steamed in the morning heat, the air thick with mist. Liam moved like a ghost, no sound, no wasted motion. Relic followed, each step a battle against dizziness and the strange pull in his mind that wanted him to turn back toward the ruins. Halfway to the ridge, Relic froze. He heard it, a low hum like 1,000 voices whispering in unison. It wasn't outside. It was inside his head. They're calling me, he whispered. Liam grabbed his arm. Don't answer. Focus on my voice. On your breath. You're Relic of the Cathari. You're real. This place is trying to overwrite you. Relic clenched his jaw and kept walking. But the pull grew stronger. He saw flashes of Liam, not as he was now, but surrounded by fire, his skin cracking open to reveal something silver beneath. In the vision, Liam turned and said, You were always meant to be here. No, Relic muttered. I wasn't. They reached the base of the ridge just as the ground trembled. From the direction of the ruins, a column of black smoke rose into the sky. The vault was breaking open. The relay station is at the top, Liam said, pointing to a metal tower half hidden by vines. Stay close. They climbed the rocky slope using roots and cracks for handholds. Relic's hand slipped once and he nearly fell, but Liam caught his wrist just in time. As they pulled him up, Relic saw something in Liam's eyes. Not just worry, but guilt. You knew this would happen, Relic said. Liam didn't deny it. I hoped it wouldn't, but part of me knew. If anyone triggered the system, it would be me. Or someone near me. Why didn't you tell the academy? The instructors? Because they already know, Liam said bitterly. The facility was built here on purpose. They're watching. Testing. Seeing how long it takes for the pathogen to resurface. Cadets like you, you're not trainees. You're sensors. Bait. Relic felt a chill that had nothing to do with fever. They sent us here to die. Or to change, Liam corrected. Depends on what they want more. Data or soldiers. They reached the relay station, a rusted metal platform with a control panel and a dish antenna pointed skyward. Liam pried open the panel with his knife and began rewiring the circuits with quick, sure hands. Relic stood guard, scanning the tree line below. Then he saw them. Figures emerged from the mist. 5, then 10. Not the liquid shadow creatures from before, but something new, humanoid but taller. Their limbs too smooth, their faces blank except for glowing eyes. They moved in perfect sync like a single mind in many bodies. The adapted, Liam said without looking up. Former conquered personnel. Scientists, soldiers, medics, all exposed. All changed. Can they climb? Relic asked. They don't need to, Liam said. They'll wait until we come down. Or until the storm hits, Relic frowned. Storm? Liam pointed to the horizon. Dark clouds gathered, crackling with green lightning. Ion storm. Hits every 72 hours. Wipes out all unshielded electronics. If I don't finish this before it hits, the beacon dies, the shuttle won't come, and we're stranded. Relic watched the figures below. They weren't attacking. They were watching. Waiting. As if they knew the storm was coming too. Minutes passed. The wind picked up. Thunder rumbled in the distance. Liam's fingers flew over the wires, sweat beading on his forehead. Almost got it. Then the beacon in his hand flickered and died. No, Liam whispered. He tried again, rerouting power from the station's backup cell. Sparks flew. The beacon blinked once, then went dark again. It's no use, he said, slamming his fist against the panel. The corruption is too deep. The only way to send a clean signal is to purge the beacon's memory, but that means losing all data, including our location. Relic looked at the approaching storm, then at the silent figures below. Then we send a different signal. Liam turned. What? The Cathari have an old emergency code. Uses harmonic resonance instead of data packets. Hard to jam. My people taught it to me before I left home. I can trigger it with the beacon's audio emitter, if you can get it to power on long enough for 10 seconds. Liam's eyes lit up. Do it. He rerouted the last of the station's power into the beacon's speaker system. You've got 8 seconds once it lights up. Make them count. Relic took the beacon, his hands shaking. He pressed the sequence into its side. 3 taps, a hold, 2 quick pulses. The device hummed to life, its screen glowing red. He began to chant, a low rhythmic sound passed down through generations of Cathari warriors. The words had no meaning in any known language, but they carried a frequency that cut through static, jamming, and even silence. Below, the figures stopped moving. They tilted their heads as if listening. The beacon beeped. 7 seconds. 6. The first bolt of green lightning split the sky. 5. The wind howled. 4. One of the figures began to climb the ridge. 3. Liam raised his sidearm. Hurry! 2. Relic's voice rose, clear and strong despite the fever. 1. The beacon died. Silence. Then, far above the clouds, a distant thrum echoed, the sound of a shuttle breaking orbit. They heard it, Liam breathed, but the figure was almost at the top. Liam fired. The shot hit the creature in the chest, but it didn't fall. It kept coming, its blank face now inches away. Relic acted without thinking. He grabbed a loose cable from the relay panel and jammed it into the creature's neck. Sparks erupted. The thing shrieked, a sound like tearing metal, and collapsed. More were climbing. Go. Liam yelled, shoving Relic toward the edge of the platform. I'll hold them off. Relic hesitated. I'm not leaving you. You have to, Liam shouted. You're the only one who can tell them what's really happening here. Before Relic could argue, Liam activated a small device on his wrist. The ground beneath the climbing figures cracked open, and a hidden trapdoor left over from old conquered defenses swallowed them into darkness. Now. Liam grabbed Relic's arm and pulled him to the far side of the ridge, where a narrow ledge led down to a river below. The shuttle will land in the clearing 2 clicks east. Go, I'll meet you there. Relic wanted to argue, but the storm was upon them now. Rain fell in sheets, stinging his skin. Lightning lit up the ruins in flashes, revealing dozens more figures emerging from the earth. He ran. Behind him, he heard gunfire, then silence, and then, faint but clear, Liam's voice on the wind. Remember what you saw. Relic didn't look back. He ran through the storm, the fever burning, the whispers growing louder, and the truth settling deep in his bones. He hadn't just survived a test. He had stepped into a war no one was supposed to know about. The shuttle ride back to the orbital facility was a blur of pain and static. Relic lay strapped to a med couch, his body wrapped in thermal blankets, his skin still hot to the touch. Rain and mud had soaked his uniform, and a deep gash on his arm, torn open during the final sprint through the jungle, bled slowly despite the pressure bandage. He kept his eyes closed, not because he was tired, but because every time he opened them, the walls of the shuttle seemed to ripple like water, and voices whispered in a language that wasn't his. He didn't see Liam bored. He didn't see the pilot's grim expression. He only knew they had made it when the engines cut and the docking clamps thudded into place. The medbay doors hissed open before the shuttle even powered down. White-coated medics rushed in, their faces hidden behind smooth biohelmets. They moved fast, efficient, silent. One injected Relic with a sedative that burned like ice in his veins. Another scanned Liam, who stood quietly at the back, his hands raised. Subject Liam shows elevated biosignatures, a medic said into a comm. Possible contamination. Quarantine both, came the reply. Level 5 protocol. Relic tried to speak, to ask where they were taking Liam, but his tongue wouldn't move. They wheeled him down a sterile white corridor, past observation windows where shadowed figures watched without expression. The walls hummed with hidden machinery. The air smelled of antiseptic and something metallic, like blood that had been scrubbed away too many times. They placed him on a med table in a small, windowless room. Soft restraints clicked around his wrists and ankles. A robotic arm extended from the ceiling, drawing blood from his neck with a needle so fine he barely felt it. Then the lights dimmed. A screen on the far wall flickered to life. Not a person. Not a message. Just data, streams of code, genetic sequences, and video logs labeled with dates from 5 years ago. One file opened. Automatically, the footage showed a group of human soldiers in black armor standing in a jungle nearly identical to Xylo 7. Among them was a younger Liam, his face unscarred, his eyes sharp with focus. A voice, Liam's voice, spoke over the recording. Day 12. The pathogen isn't airborne. It's in the water. In the soil. It bonds with neural tissue on contact. We thought we were studying it. We were feeding it. The camera panned to a containment vault, its door wide open. Inside, figures moved, humanoid but wrong. Their skin shimmered. Their limbs bent in impossible ways. Command says evacuate, but they're lying. They want us to bring samples back. They want to weaponize it. The video cut to static, then switched to another clip, this one inside a lab. Liam and his squad were strapped to tables, tubes running from their arms into glowing canisters. Scientists in white coats monitored screens, their faces calm. Subjects show 94% integration, a voice said. Neural rewrite successful. Begin Phase 3, Relic's breath caught. He knew what Phase 3 meant. Erasure, reprogramming, turning soldiers into something else. The screen changed again. Footage of a facility exploding, screams, fire, Liam running through smoke alone. Then silence. The screen went black. A calm, synthetic voice filled the room. Cadet Relic, you have been exposed to Xenogen strain Theta. Your neural patterns show early-stage integration. You are now a biohazard. Relic strained against the restraints. Where's Liam? He is being processed, the voice replied. His presence was expected. Yours was not. But contamination is contamination. The robotic arm returned, this time holding a syringe filled with a dark blue liquid. Neural purge will begin in 10 minutes. This will remove all foreign memory imprints and reset your cognitive baseline. Survival probability 38%. No, Relic shouted. You can't. Compliance is mandatory, the voice said. You were never meant to return. Then from the corner of the room a panel slid open. Liam stood there, bruised and bleeding, but upright. His uniform was torn and his hands were cuffed with glowing energy bands. But his eyes were clear. They lied to you, Liam said, stepping inside. This medbay isn't for healing. It's a filter. They let cadets go down to Xylo 7 to see who gets infected. Then they bring the infected back here and erase them. The robotic arm paused. The voice spoke again. Subject Liam, return to holding cell. Liam ignored it. He walked to Relic's side. The purge won't just erase the pathogen memories. It'll wipe everything, your training, your name, your home. You'll wake up empty. Why are you telling me this? Relic asked, his voice breaking. Because I failed my squad, Liam said. I ran, I hid. I let them turn me into a ghost. But you saw the truth, and you didn't look away. He reached into his boot and pulled out a small data chip, hidden in a slit in the leather. This has everything. The logs, the experiments, the names of the people who ordered it. Take it, get it out. How? Relic asked. I'm locked down. Liam looked at the restraints, then at the ceiling. There's a failsafe, built into my spine. A signal that shuts down all conquered biolocks within 50 meters. It was meant to be a kill switch. But I rewired it. He placed the chip in Relic's palm, curling the alien's fingers around it. When I trigger it, the restraints will release. The doors will open for exactly 12 seconds. Run, don't stop. Don't look back. What about you? Relic asked. Liam gave a small, sad smile. I've been dead for 5 years. Today I get to choose how I go out. Before Relic could respond, Liam pressed his thumb against a small scar on his neck. Lights flickered. Alarms blared. The restraint snapped open, the door slid wide. Go! Liam shouted, shoving Relic toward the exit. Relic stumbled into the corridor. Behind him, security drones dropped from the ceiling, their weapons charging. Liam turned to face them, unarmed, standing tall. Relic ran. He didn't know the layout of the facility, but his body remembered. He followed the hum of the ventilation system, ducked into service tunnels, used the chaos of the alarm to stay hidden. Every step sent pain through his fevered body, but he clutched the data chip like a lifeline. He reached a maintenance bay on the lower deck. A small emergency shuttle sat in the far corner, its hatch open. He didn't question it. He climbed in. As the engines powered up, he looked back through the viewport. In the medbay window, he saw Liam surrounded by enforcers. One raised a weapon. Liam didn't flinch. Then the facility shook. A deep, muffled explosion rocked the station. Lights went out. Fire bloomed in the medbay wing. Liam had done more than trigger a failsafe. He'd blown the core. Relic launched the shuttle just as the docking arm retracted. Behind him, the orbital facility cracked open like an egg, pieces of metal and glass scattering into the void. Flames curled around the wreckage, lighting up the face of Virelli's below. He flew alone through the dark. the data chip burning in his pocket, the whispers in his mind quieter now, but not gone. He knew what he had to do. He set course for the main academy, not to report for duty, but to tell the truth. The academy hung in space like a silver seed against the black, its towers and docking arms stretching toward the stars. Relic guided the stolen shuttle into Bay 7, the smallest and least monitored entrance. He wore a torn cadet uniform, his face pale from fever and exhaustion, his eyes shadowed but sharp. In his pocket, the data chip felt heavier than stone. No one stopped him as he walked through the quiet corridors. Most cadets were in drills or simulations. The instructors were in their chambers, unaware that the orbital facility over Virelli's had gone dark. Official channels called it a power failure, but Relic knew better. He had watched it burn. He made his way to the Central Command Hall, the heart of the Academy where the High Council met to review missions, assign ranks, and pass judgment. The doors were guarded by 2 armored enforcers, their faces hidden behind mirrored visors. Relic didn't slow down. He walked straight toward them, his steps steady despite the ache in his bones. "Halt," one enforcer said, raising a hand. Relic stopped. He reached into his pocket, not for a weapon, but for the data chip. He held it up between his fingers. "I request an emergency audience with the High Council." Under Article 9 of the Concord Cadet Charter, the enforcers exchanged a silent glance. Article 9 allowed any cadet who returned from a failed mission with critical intelligence to speak directly to command. Once, and only if the evidence was verified. One enforcer stepped forward and took the chip. He inserted it into a scanner on his wrist. The device beeped once, then again, then it flashed red. The enforcer's posture changed. He nodded sharply. "Proceed." The hall was vast and cold, lit by soft blue panels in the floor. At the far end, 5 figures sat on raised platforms, representatives from the major Concord species. Their faces were unreadable, their robes immaculate. They had already heard the reports. They knew the facility was gone, but they didn't know why. Relic walked to the center of the room and stood alone under the light. "Cadet Relic of the Cathari," said the lead counselor, a tall avian with feathers the color of ash. "You were assigned to the joint survival exercise on Xylos 7. Your partner is listed as missing. The orbital facility suffered a catastrophic failure. Explain your presence here." Relic took a breath. "I chose the wrong human partner," he said, his voice clear. "But he taught me how to see the truth. He told them everything. About the ruins, the drones, the toxin that showed memories not his own, about Liam's mark, his past, the hidden vault beneath the jungle. He spoke of the video logs, the experiments, the neural purges. He described the figures rising from the earth, not as monsters but as victims, rewritten, used, and discarded." The council listened in silence. No interruptions. No questions. Just cold, watching eyes. When he finished, the avian counselor leaned forward. "You accuse the Concord of crimes against its own. Do you understand the weight of that claim?" "I do," Relic said. "And I have proof." He reached into his other pocket and pulled out a second chip, smaller, older. "Liam gave me this before he stayed behind. It's a backup. The first one was a decoy." A murmur ran through the council. One of them, a reptilian with scarred scales, stood. "That chip contains classified bioweapons research. Possession is punishable by neural wipe." "Then wipe me," Relic said. "But first play it." The council exchanged glances. Then the avian nodded. A screen descended from the ceiling. The footage began. It showed high-ranking Concord officers in a secure chamber, discussing controlled exposure trials on cadets. Another clip showed scientists injecting the pathogen into volunteers who didn't know what they were signing up for. A final log showed the decision to build the training facility directly over the vault, to monitor reactivation, to harvest new subjects. The room fell utterly silent. Then the reptilian counselor spoke, his voice low. "This changes nothing. The pathogen is too dangerous to release. Containment is necessary. Sacrifices are regrettable, but required." Relic's blood ran cold. "You knew? We manage threats," the avian said calmly. "Even the ones we create." Relic looked around the hall. These weren't judges. They were architects. And they had no intention of stopping. He took a step back. "Then I won't ask you to." Before they could react, he turned and ran, alarms blared. Enforcers flooded the hall. But Relic was already moving through service tunnels he'd memorized during his first weeks at the academy. He reached the communications array on Deck 12, the one used for long-range emergency broadcasts. He jammed Liam's chip into the main console. The system resisted, locked, encrypted, but Liam had prepared for this too. Relic entered a code, 7 numbers. Liam had whispered to him in the cave. His old squad's call sign, the system unlocked. A red light blinked. Broadcast ready. Relic pressed send across the Concord on every station, every ship. Every training world screens flickered. Cadets paused mid-drill. Officers stopped in hallways. Citizens looked up from their meals. And they all saw the same thing, the truth, footage of the experiments. The lies, the burning facility, Liam's final stand. The broadcast lasted only 90 seconds before the Academy's firewalls cut it off. But 90 seconds was enough. By the time enforcers burst into the comms room, Relic was gone. He didn't try to escape the Academy. He walked to the observation deck and stood before the great window watching the stars. Ships were already moving in the distance, some conquered, some independent, some bearing no flags at all. Word was spreading. Revolt was stirring. An enforcer grabbed his arm. "You're under arrest." Relic didn't resist. "Good. Then you'll have to explain why." Later, he stood before a new council. Not the old one, but a gathering of cadets, junior officers, and representatives from species long ignored by the conquered. They had seen the broadcast. They believed him. Relic handed them the second chip, the real one with everything. "I didn't come here to be a hero," he said. "I came to make sure Liam didn't die for nothing." In the weeks that followed, the conquered fractured. Some worlds demanded answers. Others cut ties. The facility over Virelli's was declared a tomb, sealed by mutual agreement. And the pathogen? No one dared touch it again. Relic never returned to training. He became something else, a witness, a messenger, a warning. And far away in the ruins of Xylo 7, the jungle grew quiet once more. But deep beneath the soil in the broken vault, something stirred. Not with anger. Not with hunger. With hope. Because someone had finally listened.